So hello and welcome to the Cryosphere Pavilion and to this session on black carbon and Cookstoves, solar cookers. So welcome to all of you that are here in person and also to those watching virtually, including our hubs in Stockholm and Geneva. We're very happy to have here with us from Solar Cookers International, Caitlin Hughes, the Executive Director, and Alan Bigelow, the Science Director. So we're very interested in this emission-free way of cooking and looking very much forward to your presentation.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much to the Cryosphere Pavilion for hosting us. We are so excited to be sharing this information with you. So as you said, I'm the Executive Director with Solar Cookers International, Caitlin Hughes. And who is Solar Cookers International? We are the nonprofit that's been leading the solar cooking sector since 1987. We have hundreds of collaborators in over 135 countries. And we are working to improve human and environmental health with solar cooking, making it accessible all around the world. We are working to address a challenge that affects approximately 3 billion people who are cooking over open fires, and it predominantly affects women and children. So how is Solar Cookers International working to address this? Through 3 main ways: building capacity, advocacy, and research. And we're here to tell you more about that and give you some examples from around the world. Alan, would you like to tell us more?
Thank you, Caitlin. And thank you all for being here today, and for everybody who is watching through the internet. Thank you for tuning in. We were delighted this morning to see on the COP website that the top news story had a wonderful picture showing several dozens of solar cookers, parabolic dishes in Bhutan. And that's a great message to see that our work and what we're doing at Solar Cookers International and our whole sector seems to be gaining traction. So again, thanks for being here to learn more about solar cookers and Solar Cookers International with a particular emphasis in the cryosphere. So in areas where it can be very cold, where there's sun and also snow. So just to start about how a solar cooker works, it's actually quite straightforward. And we have a couple solar cookers here today to help demonstrate that how they work. So first of all, we need to collect sunlight. So you'll often see mirrors that are used to help gather light and direct them towards a cooking surface or a cooking vessel. And then we need to absorb that sunlight. So dark surfaces, such as the inside of that evacuated tube, the inner wall of that evacuated tube, or black cookware, such as what we have in this cooker. The dark surface is efficient at absorbing sunlight and converting this light energy into thermal heat energy. And that's it. That's where we use a solar thermal approach for cooking, is this direct transformation from light to heat energy. Now, we also need to retain that heat. So we might use a greenhouse type approaches. Sometimes you'll see transparent vessels that encapsulate the cookware. A plastic bag is sometimes used, but we would prefer that people use glass bowls, transparent material that can be used over and over and over again, that are also sustainable. Now, in the case of the evacuated tube, which is a newer technology that we're seeing in the solar cooking sector, that is like a thermos where the vacuum layer between the outer wall and the inner wall is excellent at retaining the heat, so it's an excellent insulator. Caitlin is showing the cooking tray that is used in this particular cooker. And so it's a little different from what you might normally use at home, but today we need to look at different ways of living. Different ways of cooking is included in that. But in this tray, I've actually used this cooker in New York, where I live, and I use it regularly on sunny days. I might line that with parchment paper and put in potatoes, vegetables, and roast them into a nice crispy, crunchy cook. Or I might take them out a little bit earlier and then throw them in a ratatouille. Also, one could cook bread by using small bread pans and put them in there as well. So with that, as you can see with Caitlin's assistant, it's very easy. It's efficient because of this direct conversion from light to heat, light energy to heat energy. It's safe, and this is clean and sustainable cooking. So let's give Caitlin a round of applause for helping out. Thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate your help. So yes, there are three basic types of solar cookers. So just to go into this with a little more detail, the reflective panel solar cooker is very simple. This can be made from cardboard that's lined with aluminum foil that's glued to it and shaped into an approximate parabolic shape that will direct the sunlight toward the cooking vessel. So that is also this one that we have here on display today. And SCI was actually asked by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to design this, and this has had a lot of use in previous refugee camp projects, but also this has now become an open source design that is available to all, and we give out that information from our website freely. The box oven is basically a box inside a larger box with insulated walls and a glass window on top that will help allow sunlight to come in, but the heat to not get back out. So it's again a greenhouse effect that's happening there, that we want a very good greenhouse effect in solar cooking. The third one here, the parabolic reflector, is an extremely powerful solar cooker that can concentrate sunlight directly at the cooking pot. And this can be used for frying. You get the high temperatures and fast cooking with something like that. You really need to stay with your food or else it might get cooking too fast. So it's an active form of solar cooking, whereas the others are more of a passive, slow cooking where you can put the food in there and go do something else. But you do need to change the position of the cooker about every half hour to track the sunlight, because the position of the sun will change during the day. We like to emphasize two complementary technologies, which are the water pasteurization indicator and the heat retention basket. So the heat retain basket is a device that can help keep the food hot into, for instance, the evening. Or maybe if you wanted to cook, get a second dish started, you could bring your first meal up to the cooking temperature, remove that pot and put it in the retained heat basket, and then start the second one up for cooking. The water pasteurization indicator is an excellent complementary technology because these devices can be very efficient at pasteurizing water, kill waterborne microbes, bacteria, and viruses, and to make the water safe for drinking. It's a very simple device that has wax that melts at the temperature where we eradicate these microbes. Okay, so these are cooking appliances. These are serious devices. They can cook. And there are more that we're seeing on in the sector these days. These are incorporating Fresnel mirrors, Fresnel lenses, and also the evacuated tube. So this is an exciting emerging field. It's all already well established, but the designers who are in this sector are very creative. So we're seeing new designs come out all the time, and some are even hybrid, where you might be able to, if you need to, plug it into an electrical source. If it gets cloudy, or if it's a rainy day or you want to use the system at night, you can do that as well. Mostly we like to champion open source designs, build these in your country with materials that you have available in your country, and get going, get started. Now, an exciting opportunity is institution solar cookers. These we are seeing mostly in India and also in Nepal. This picture is actually from Nepal at a boarding school. This is called Vajra Academy, and it's just south of Kathmandu. And it's a boarding school where they have a rooftop system that concentrates sunlight onto receivers where water is heated to steam. The steam then goes down into a modern kitchen. And in this kitchen, and as you can see here, momos are being prepared, and the students love momos. We all love momos. And it is an excellent opportunity to really scale up solar cooking and bring it into the institutions. A system like this would also be a hybrid system in that if it's a monsoon season, there needs to be another form of energy. Ideally, another sustainable fuel, biogas perhaps, but often whatever the institute might already have available for their cooking, maybe merge that in with the new system. Now, I'd like to share with you a video that I recorded earlier this spring at home. I live in New York and have been working remotely, as most of us have been during this pandemic. And I solar cook regularly on sunny days. I'm going to just share with you some shots from cooking of Sichuan beans. So listen carefully to the sizzle. Here we go. Solar cooking on a sunny day. Why not? Here's some Sichuan style cooking on a wok on a parabolic cooker. Good old solar cooker. Here we go. Add some green beans. And for one more thing, the special sauce, the glaze. You stir in the glaze. Gives it some thickness, really nice extra flavor. All the very special ingredients in that glaze. If you're really nice to me, I might tell you what they are. So, Alan Bigelow, Solar Cookers International, coming to you from a sunny day in Nyack, New York. Happy solar cooking. Okay, thank you for watching that. I hope it's whetted the appetite. I'm starting to get hungry. A point that I want to make is that the cooking is very similar to what you might do over a gas flame. And on a day like that, where you have really good sunlight, and this was still a cold day, but the sun was very strong, and you can cook with a solar cooker at about similar speeds as you might with a gas flame. So the action of cooking is same. I was actually doing that one-handed because I had to hold the camera. Otherwise, I might be holding the other part of the wok with my hand. Now, why solar cooking? This is a rundown of the co-benefits from cooking. There are zero emissions from solar cooking. There is also zero fuel costs. Now, this is an important contrast to virtually all other types of cooking where you have to pay for fuel. And if you have to pay for fuel, that's something that families who might be in developing countries living in rural areas, that can be a real challenge. So impoverished nations, vulnerable people are very challenged by the expense that they might have to take on for paying for cooking fuel. But no emission of greenhouse gas. Zero inhalation of smoke. It reduces deforestation. You can cook nutritious meals. This technology and techniques can also be used for drying food. You can pasteurize water, as I mentioned earlier, and no danger from going out and collecting biomass. Now, this solar cooker is excellent for mitigation and adaptation. I was reminded of this. It really struck me one time this summer when Hurricane Ida came through and knocked out our power grid. So we had no electricity. The electricity didn't allow us to turn on our gas stove at home. So my option, fortunately there was sun, was to solar cook. So I was able to do that when there was this little emergency that we had. So in my case, I thought, all right, for the world, the mitigation is that you are not emitting anything, and you are also preserving the ecology. But to adapt going forward, we will be having more naturally occurring disasters, or might we say human impacted naturally occurring disasters. So we need to be more prepared. We need to adapt for our future. So learn how to solar cook, bring this into your lifestyle. This is cost effective. It requires no infrastructure. There's no grid necessary for solar thermal cooking. It's a quick implementation. You can build these at home. For some of the designs, it's accessible. We have designs on our website. People's solution, we like to call it. But I now want to make a point for where we are today. We are at the Cryosphere Pavilion. We want to focus on the cryosphere and areas where there's danger to the melting of snow and ice pack. There is zero black carbon emission, zero soot emitted, because we're not burning anything with solar cookers. So, along with this, SCI was honored to win, or to be listed as a winner of the Keeling Curve Prize this year. And the Keeling Curve is this very well-known curve showing the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere over time. It's been going up, up, up. We surpassed 350 parts per million back in the late 80s, and we are still going up, up, up. I took that from, that was from yesterday. So that's a current view. Now, the Keeling Curve recognizes climate solutions, and solar cooking is a climate solution. So we're very honored to be among the winners of this year's Keeling Curve Prize. So in addition to reducing CO2 emission when you burn wood and other types of fuels, these cookers also reduce black carbon. And the reduction of black carbon and greenhouse gas is all being called for at the IPCC level, and why we are here at COP. Those are my parents. They visited Greenland in 2009, and I spoke with my mom just the other day, and she reminded me of their trip, and she said, we got to walk on the ice pack, and it was really dirty. I said, Mom, that's black carbon that's built up on the ice pack, and it is accelerating the melting aspect. And in her next picture, she actually put that caption in 2009. So we're now a decade plus from there, and we know very well, yes, the ice sheet on Greenland is melting. So by having less soot emitted, reducing that, we can perhaps slow that down a little bit. Now, another personal story of mine is an extraordinary solar cooking trek in Nepal. This had never been done before, but in 2013, I was fortunate to accompany a troop of a couple dozen trekkers, and during 9 days at high altitude, all the food was prepared using solar cookers that were then carried from one site to the next. It was an excellent opportunity to showcase what these systems can do. And this was the team shown here. We got up to an altitude of 4,000 meters, which is about 14,000 feet, or the height of the Colorado Rockies. So these were some of the solar cookers we were using. These are designed by one of SCI's global advisors, and it's a parabolic design that can cook a great deal of food, and they certainly worked very well for what we were doing. Along with those solar cookers, we had heat retention baskets as well to allow the food to stay warm into the evening when we would actually have our dinners. The trek was a cultural experience as well. It went up to a lake called Bhairabkunda, and at that lake, it's a spiritual site. And on the way, we certainly enjoyed meals that were both a mix of Western and Eastern, you might say. But it was also fun to to meet some of the local people in that area who were very curious about what we were doing. What are these shiny things being carried up the mountains? And we would let them know and serve some solar chai, in this case, to this woman. We also visited a nunnery along the way that is also using a lot of solar technologies, but they hadn't seen solar cookers yet. So we were able to pass on this wonderful technology or the information about it to them. And so they were very happy to learn about that. This is a picture at the top of the lake. And we then turned around and came back down and finished up at Fort Duguna. Very unfortunately, soon after this trek happened, there were massive earthquakes in Nepal, very destructive in many areas across the country. That fort got damaged. The nunnery got damaged. And so what to do now? I'll come back to that in a moment. But another site we visited is the Vajra Academy. And just to showcase again what they're doing at Vajra Academy, this is another view of the rooftop system at the school. And this is some of the receivers where water is heated to steam. And a few more views of the kitchen, where it really is a modern, clean kitchen, which is using solar thermal for cooking the food for the students. The students also get to have some training on how that works. Yes, you can cook in the snow. That cooker is the Fornelia Mini, which is a cooker that SCI has tested. And it was a good sunny day, and I was roasting some potatoes at home in New York. So indeed, these are effective in the cryosphere. Another example, you would think that most solar cooking, and indeed most solar cooking does happen across the equatorial regions. There are people that live there, a good amount of sunshine through the year, but we are starting to see some points in the northern area and also in the southern area of the planet, and also in some of the mountainous regions. So you might not expect solar cooking in Arctic regions, but indeed it can happen. So SCI, one of the things we do is we track where people are solar cooking. These aren't necessarily all of our initiatives, but these are initiatives from those who are in the sector. So this particular picture comes from the Arctic region in Canada, and a gentleman, Klaus Doring, who is one of our associates, an SCI associate, is leading this initiative to not only bring cookers, but a lot more about sustainable living to the community in northern Canada. His group is mentioned there, Green Sun Rising, but they donate and demonstrate solar cookers. They also bring in zero emission transportation, tree planting, education, and public awareness. Now, what I want to point out on this slide are two measurements that Klaus made while in that area. And it's the 1,044 watts per meter squared and 1,125 watts per meter squared. That's really good sunlight for solar cooking. That's an excellent irradiance, and so another proof that these technologies can be effective in that area. So SCI has three buckets of work: capacity building, advocacy, and research. To talk about some of our advocacy work, as for instance why we're here today, we like to make connections between this technology, which we consider a cross-cutting solution, and all of the sustainable development goals. We do have resources on our website that specifically spell that out, and we share that with delegates and people that we meet to showcase how this is not only affordable and clean energy, SDG number 7, but there's a role in clean water and gender equality, because most of the benefits from solar cooking are for women and girls who are tasked typically with the cooking process. So in areas where they might spend great amount of time and effort to go seek the cooking fuel and then be exposed to cooking the smoke from the cook fires, this is a great aspect toward gender equality. And then there are many other connections that we can make from those the other SDGs, and we have that information on our website. We also track the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions. What are countries claiming they will do toward reducing their emissions? And we have found by tracking them that there is an uptake recently in cooking. More countries are starting to state cooking as being an important aspect for what they want to focus on. So we have seen 66 just now that mention cooking. More specifically, 23 of those are mentioning non-polluting fuels, which include solar cookers. One country specifically mentioned solar cookers as Somalia, so we give them a big hand of applause for that. But this is a very important aspect. If a country mentions clean cooking, clean sustainable cooking, solar cooking in their NDCs, that can help declare their intent, which can open up pathways for funding. And this is something that what we do at SCI is to encourage and make these linkages between what countries say they want to do and for opportunities for finance. Back to Nepal. Shortly after the earthquake, there was first of all, tremendous challenges from the earthquake itself, and that was devastating to the infrastructure. But then there was a subsequent issue at the border where fuels that were coming into Nepal for cooking were blocked. And this was a tremendous stress on the people. When I was heading that way, I was thinking, okay, if there are no fuels, maybe there would be fewer cars driving around, and that might make the air cleaner. But it was surprising to find out, that people were burning wood for cooking at a higher rate than before. So there was a great amount of pollution in Kathmandu from that. This picture shows lines of kerosene where people were expecting, perhaps by a rumor, that a delivery would happen. So they would line up hoping that would happen. That line might be there for a day or two. Also, people were collecting firewood from Swayambhu Forest. I took this picture. These people were walking just in front of me. And so they are gathering firewood from a treasured location in Nepal for burning. Meanwhile, there's sunlight. So opportunity for solar cooking. But this was one of the makeshift cookers actually at a restaurant on a side street. And that was a very typical scene at that time. But it does give us this thought that, yes, we need to adapt because of the uncertainty going forward. So these types of technologies, don't wait for the disasters to come. Get to know how to use them now. It's a good time to use it. I was thrilled to see that at the Tek Chokling Nunnery in Nepal, this group of nuns did start to bring in solar cookers into their activities. I had met one of their members earlier and introduced the technology, and then on the return trip saw that they use it primarily for heating water because they're drinking a lot of hot water, teas, etc. And so they are using their solar cookers regularly. And this woman who lives not far from Nepal, from Kathmandu in Machagaon, she is a widow and she has a restaurant, and she's able to save about 50% of her typical expense that she would pay for LPG because she's now using solar cookers not only for her own use but for her restaurant. So that's helping with her income generation. Research. What are we doing at SCI in the realm of research? Well, what's very important is to add credibility to our sector. The solar cooking sector had been a little bit confusing because a manufacturer could claim, my cooker is the best cooker in the world. Mine is number one. And there was no internationally agreed upon standard for how to test solar cookers and get a performance specification at that time. So we realized that at SCI as a gap in the sector, and also as an opportunity. As a nonprofit organization, we don't manufacture and sell solar cookers. So we had manufactured the Cook It originally, but this has become an open source design. It's on its own. So we took on that opportunity and worked with the International Organization for Standardizations, Technical Committee 285, that just a few years ago published the new standards for how to measure the performance of clean cookstoves and clean cooking solutions at the laboratory level and in the field. So we have these two publications that have come out, and what we have done at Solar Cookers International is not only participate in the standards creation, but we've now developed instrumentation to automate the protocol for measuring solar cookers according to those standards. And we call that our performance evaluation process, or PEP for short. So now we can measure the thermal performance of solar cookers and obtain what we call the standard cooking power in watts. And this is the actual uptake power into the cooking vessel itself in water. We use water as a universal test substance. But this is giving credibility to the sector, and having an ISO standard will also help boost the entrepreneurs who are getting involved in manufacturing and sales of solar cookers. So why it's important, as I was saying, it does give an unbiased and scientific approach, and will certainly help us all understand what we are buying into. So for nations, for large UN-based organizations that we are in touch with, this is extremely important to have a specification on the product. You know what you're getting into when you invest in that product. So national leaders know about this. Manufacturers know about this. I'm sending the message out today, and I'll keep sending that message out. We have also increased the capacity for testing solar cookers. Not only do we test in the United States and California, where Solar Cookers International is based, but also in New York, where I am, and now in Nepal and in Kenya. We have disseminated this capacity for testing solar cookers at some of our partner facilities, which were already involved in testing clean cook stoves at the time. So that we're very excited about passing this capacity around. Since this is fairly new, the standards were published in 2018-ish. There were the two laboratory and field testing. We've tested these cookers so far and received permission from the manufacturers to publish the test results on our website. So we promote those as PEP tested solar cookers. And so you can see an array of reflective panel cookers, box ovens, and evacuated tubes shown here. So we do like to showcase these particular cookers because they have had that stamp of having been tested according to ISO standards. Okay, more on building capacity. What else do we do at SCI? We provide resources. We developed a tool, the John Collentine Solar Cooking Toolkit, which gives a lot of easy access to people who visit this for specific tools, introductory tools, technical tools, networking tools, etc., on how to expedite getting the information they need. A lot of these tool bins will lead to pages on our wiki, which is an extraordinary resource of some 1,800 pages of information about solar cooking. There's specific information for each country where solar cooking has taken place, and a lot of networking and can happen from these websites, from these web pages. This can be translated into 37 some languages, and it really is a treasure of information about solar cooking. A best practice that we really emphasize these days for any solar cooking initiative is collect data. We are being asked for evidence-based results, and hence we need them. So we encourage that all solar cooking initiatives use surveys. We have a quick needs assessment. We also have an adoption and impact survey that's available for free through our website. And these surveys can gather information that really quantifies the type of impact that solar cookers are having on individuals and their lives. How much money are they saving because they will use this and reduce their expense on other fuels, for instance. So we're very excited about getting more of that use. We have this distribution map worldwide. We have counted now 4 plus million solar cookers worldwide. We need to see that number scale up another order of magnitude or two or three. But this is really a powerful map to show. So anybody who's doing solar cooking initiatives, please come and report what you're doing so that we can add you to our map. It's an interactive map. You can hover your cursor over each bubble and find out more information about each location. Now, in addition to what type of solar cooker is being used, what is the situation in a particular country, and how many solar cookers are there, along with a lot of other information that we gather from other sources such as the World Health Organization, we can compile a grand total economic impact that could be for that country if that country were to have people that are relying on polluting fuels to cook to then incorporate solar cooking for 1/4 of their meals. Just 1/4 of their meals. So maybe 1 out of every 4 days, solar cook. The savings can really go to high numbers. This is our page for Nepal, and we can see $2 billion US per year could be saved for the country, and this is for the economic and also the environmental impact that's reduced. So we do have numbers, and there's a lot more information about where we got that from on our website. So please come and visit to learn much more about this resource. Ways to engage with SCI. Please consult with us. We are available. We have just launched a consultancy role in Yemen, which I spoke about earlier today at a press conference. We're very excited about how that's going. It's really hitting a lot of vulnerable people, internally displaced population in Yemen because of the war and the conflict that's still going on. But we are available to help in this ways for project design, surveys, testing, promoting, etc., offering regular consultations, and then basically passing on your results and collaborating with a network. You can join SCI. We have one more event. We're approaching the end of COP. It's been a very exciting 2 weeks, but immediately after this event, we will be just down the hallway here at the World Health Organization pavilion for our final event here at COP. And you can certainly engage with SCI by supporting us. We are a nonprofit organization. Access our resources and use them. Connect with our collaborators, specifically ones who may be in your country. Join the SCI Association. Sign up for more information. I'd like to point out Rob right there. He's a volunteer at SCI. He can help you sign up for more information right now if you'd like. And include solar cooking in your country's NDC. So if you are positioned to help make that happen, please do. And get it into your NDC. That will help unlock funding for scaling solar cooking in your country. Of course, we encourage testing. And then finally, solar cook on those sunny days. Please, please. Solar cook on sunny days. Finally, I want to thank all supporters of SCI and for your attention, and for all of those who are interested in solar cooking. Thank you to the Cryosphere Pavilion today for allowing us to have this moment to talk about solar cooking. So that wraps up my presentation today, and if there is time, I'd be happy to receive some questions. So thanks again. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alan. That was
Thank
really
you, Thomas.
interesting to see this presentation and the applications of the solar cooking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we have time for a few. Do you have time for a few questions?
I have time for a couple questions. I might need to be able to
Yes.
hear them. So
So do we have questions from the audience?
thank you, Thomas.
Please come here.
Hi, Benjamin from Climate Fresk. Thank you for this presentation. It was really fascinating. Just a couple of practical questions. You were presenting something about Nepal. How heavy is a solar cooker? And on the building side of things, where do you find the materials to build solar cookers in general?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin, for your question. I really appreciate it. The weight of a solar cooker will vary depending on the type, the size that it is. This cooker, that is the Cookit, is very light. It has a cardboard substrate and then just some aluminum foil that's glued to it. Otherwise, you're using common cookware that you may already have. It's best that it's black on the outside for absorbing the light. But this is extremely light. It's like paper. You can easily carry it around. The other one there that you see, just to use these two examples, that folds up and has a handle like a briefcase or a suitcase. That one weighs about 12 kilos because that was half of my baggage allowance. So those are just as examples. But Other cookers can be heavier, but that might be a good thing if you're looking at a community level cooker. You want something that's going to be powerful, so it needs to be bigger, and you also don't want it to be blown away. So if a wind gust comes, you want it to stay down. So those you wouldn't want to have portable. So the weight will depend on the materials, the size of the cooker, and the design. Your other question about where to get the materials for solar cookers. A lot of these materials can be found locally, and at SCI we really encourage local production with local materials. The initiative that we have ongoing in Kenya uses all materials available in Kenya for making a box oven, a large box oven. So stainless steel is used as reflectors. It's a very shiny surface. Glass for windows, wood, galvanized steel. It's all available locally, and the insulation material is sisal. The evacuated tube is a little bit more challenging for those materials because those tubes are not available everywhere, but they are mass produced from our neighboring sector of solar hot water. That's where that technology really comes from, and now it's been adopted into the solar cooking space. So those can be procured at a fairly reasonable rate. If you look, China is a large manufacturer of the evacuated tubes. I hope that answers your question. Okay, thanks, Benjamin, again. Appreciate it. Let's see, Thomas?
Hi, Alan. Thank you very much for very interesting talk. I'm Nauraj Nakal, working with Alternative Energy Promotion Center in Nepal, and very happy to see you featuring the work that you did in Nepal also. Actually, together with you and other partners, we have so far promoted around 500 solar cookers in Nepal, especially in the trekking routes, and which are very much liked by the users. Of course, there are limitations. You also mentioned these need to be used when there is a sun. When there is no sun, then there is a need to be make some alternative provisions. Especially on this two things, I just want to know more about. One, you presented about some new designs and models also, which is very good to see. I'm happy to see those. If there are already some numbers going on with the new designs, I would like to know more. And second, on the performance also, we are currently working with the Renewable Energy Testing Center in Nepal to do testing of all kinds of renewable energy technologies through that testing center. If there is an opportunity to collaborate, we would like to very much get your support to capacitate renewable energy testing center in Nepal to do the performance testing of the cookstoves, solar cookstoves. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nawa, and it's really wonderful to see you again. We had met a few years ago. The pandemic has kept us all from traveling, but it's really wonderful to see some familiar faces. And yes, we would look forward to working with you and collaborating. And I think we will talk later about a specific opportunity through CTCN. Climate Technology Center and Network, which helps bridge the gap. So when a country such as Nepal declares or writes in its NDC that they statements that are supportive and friendly to solar cooking, that's going to be a great step forward. So we're going to latch on to that, and absolutely we look forward to working together to scale up solar cooking in Nepal, where I'm glad to hear from your side that there's been some great use, and the numbers keep going up. I see a great opportunity also in Western Nepal, where there's great amount of sunlight, and at the high altitudes on the sunny days, this can truly make a difference. Okay, thank you so much. Thomas, is there any, I think one more question?
Hi, I really enjoyed your presentation, and I've been on delegations trying to work on black carbon in Russia, for example. And that said, there are countries like Russia, and I'm also thinking of parts of Brazil, Argentina, even parts of the United States, where, okay, like it or not, no one's a vegetarian or likes to be a vegetarian. So how are these cookers, like it or not, Can I go to my neighbor who likes to have a steak, and does it cook meat products as well as the vegetables that you're showing? Just a comment, because I think this is just fabulous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's a great question. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the vegetarian aspect in that alone is a tremendous climate solution. So I'll leave that aside and then come back and answer your question. Yes, yes. A lot of people are using solar cookers for meat. And in the video that I showed where I was stir frying a Szechuan based beans dish, that's a high temperature. You can grill hamburgers, steaks. Yes, absolutely. There's even grill pans that have the ridged, so you can get the searing marks on your burger, even though you're not using any charcoal or wood. So first of all, yes, and even people have used designs like the Cook It. Very simple to cook all kinds of meats, chicken, Thanksgiving dinners in the United States. So yeah, it works very well for that. And there are also some tricks. If you make me think that some people really want to have the smoke flavor in their food. So that's another challenge that we've been someone poked at, and I was given a tip on how to do that. If you take a wood chip, a mesquite chip perhaps from West Texas, and you set that in the grill pan, that will start to smolder and emit its aroma that will then get captured by the food. So there are ways to be creative with solar cooking, that where you can cook meats, you can make cakes, you can basically, a challenge that I've taken on personally is to see if I can cook anything that I would over a flame in a solar cooker. I've been pretty successful, and making even coffee, espresso in the morning is a lot of fun. So yeah, all types of foods can be cooked with solar cookers. I'm a vegetarian as well, so I'm not cooking meats, but yes, they can be cooked. Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Perhaps I can ask a question as well.
Yes.
So we've seen that on your map you already have like quite an impressive amount of users worldwide. But still, for further upscaling, what would you say are the main challenges for that?
Great question. The main challenge is funding and awareness. I've been promoting solar cookers since 2008 when I first saw one. And at that time, it was still tricky enough to get people to understand that we were dealing with the climate crisis. Now we've reached a point where that is fairly commonly accepted, I would say, fairly widespread. There still are some deniers, but that's okay. They'll come around, hopefully. So awareness is now going at a faster pace. For instance, what I cited at the beginning of my presentation, that the top news of today for COP on the website has an article about nations walking the talk. And there's a picture at the top of showing several dozen solar cookers. The article itself doesn't talk about those solar cookers, but that picture wound up on that article, which is great. It's fantastic. We're seeing much more of those situations happening. Clean cooking itself is needing a lot of support across the board to elevate people to a higher standard of living. If I can quote one of our global advisors, Dr. Mrs. Janak McGilligan, she has always said that cooking over fire, cooking and the smoke that's associated with it, is violence against women, and it must be stopped. So when someone like her declares that, that's a very important statement to make and to really take it to heart. So there's more traction now than before for having initiatives, more funding towards the whole clean cooking sector. For solar cooking, we are in the clean and sustainable sector of it. So we have a section of that that really is focusing on the sustainability part. So awareness campaigns, you can help, Thomas, by telling everyone you know about solar cooking, and that this really is a valuable and viable solution. But more investment in products that have been tested and are known to work, more investment and encouragement, enabling environments within certain countries for local manufacturing and supporting initiatives and entrepreneurs, so jobs can be created through this. This is picking up, and the more that we latch on to the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions of countries, and let their nationally determined entity, who is a person, let them know that, hey, we can connect and seek funding for specifically for solar cooking initiatives. Awareness, funding. I think that the technology is all set to go. It's proven. It works. Thank you. Okay.
So thank you so much, Alan, for presenting. It's really interesting. So with that, our event now comes to a close here. We look forward to seeing you again at 1 o'clock, if you like, where we have a session on connections between Arctic sea ice and European weather. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.